Morning. It is actually still morning, so welcome. I'm just gonna let me just bosh this up. Yeah, so some little bits of mountain news. There's this tragic thing. I haven't heard anything. The latest. This was a few days ago. Like a missing hiker who was seen leaving a train station. It was on the Cape Wrath Trail. I just thought it'd be interesting, in fact, that I'm not saying he did anything wrong. He was a very experienced hill walker by all accounts. But things can happen anytime. You look at like the 127 hours. And so when I was down in Antarctica, we had a sat phone, we had a HF radio with us, and we also had these, and these were like super simple. You kind of pair them with your phone, and you can send messages. It has a button on the side which basically sends it to an emergency response center. Um, and yeah, for like I think yeah, about you're looking at about £200. Uh, but you do need a like an account with them. I think for like £9 a month, you can send up to like 40 messages. The emergency thing will always work, but you do need to have it because it uses like geostationary satellites in form of the Iridium system. So yeah, but it's yeah, just something I think worth considering if we are going to go, if we are going out walking these adventurous places on our own. Maybe these things, will be a help. I saw that Tesla's just created a phone that basically uses Starlink, and I know that I think in the latest iPhones you can actually, in an emergency, connect to the Starlink. So maybe these will become obsolete. Um, yeah, this is just the article from it. So the next one is a little bit more political. Uh, the National Park Service has been asked to, uh, remove signs that reference climate change, slavery, or other improper topics. So basically, anything that doesn't fit with some of the utter rubbish that comes from Trump at the moment. Um, it just feels like a really sad day that people are saying, actually, no, climate change, no, let's forget slavery. Um, we're meant to learn from history, aren't we? Not just ignore it, which is, I think this is a shame. 2 seconds. I remembered there are some videos that I'd like to show in this. So I'm just going to plug in the headphones, and what that effectively does, it means that I can hear what's going on, but it doesn't affect the old mic. Yeah, and this is one of them. Let's just go on here, bring it back to there. So this is a really interesting thing. It is by Mountain Equipment, and it's about reproofing your jacket so that you get the Dura water repellency. I think recently there's been a move away from certain durable water repellencies because they are not very good for the environment. Whereas I think these sort of ones you wash in are water based and a little bit better. The reason I put this is I know Rich, and I know he's very unlikely to be doing his own washing. I'm pretty sure it's his better half, Surind, that would be doing all of that. But yeah, it's good to see companies trying to help you. Yeah, help you kind of increase the longevity of um your equipment. This is sadly from the roof of the world, looking very busy up there. There's some more stuff from the roof of the world coming up, which is a lot more interesting than watching a queue. Let me just go in. I need to stop this one. So, you know, the US government, let's get rid of any form of climate change. So this is just a news piece from recently, and I think it's worth listening to.
This is a dying glacier. This lake was drilled in the beginning of July. In the beginning of July, the ice surface was up there. So this is the melt that we have seen in just the last 2 months.
I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? It's, you know, yeah, it's lost a considerable amount of ice over the summer.
2.5 months. So pretty impressive. If we compare the total melting from last September, it's even more. It's 6 meters. 6 meters in the vertical direction. Last September, exactly 1 year ago, the ice surface was up there. At this place where we are standing, there will be no ice in maybe 5 years from now. If we look to the higher regions, to this plateau at almost 3,000 meters, there it will certainly take longer, maybe 40, 50 years, but it's a glacier that will disappear anyway. This is a dying glacier.
Yeah, I think it's we live in this bizarre world, isn't it, that people deny that this is happening, but it's one of those things. This was an article. It's on climbing. It was something like a nose hook, you know, injured my climber, and when I was going through the accident reports, there was a very funny one, and I was just referencing this, and it was somebody was spotting somebody before they got to the first gear, and as the person stood up there, the other person who was leading the I mean, I've got one over here. I mean, I really do hope it wasn't one of the DMM ones, because they are pretty. But anyway, so his nut key on the back of his harness caught under the person's nose, and as he stepped up and the other person stepped back, he kind of caught his nose. It was a minor injury, that one. But it was, I thought it was about that, but it was actually when you get a carabiner and you clip it into a bolt and it gets hung up on the nose, on the nose like this. Yeah, you'll have to excuse this carabiner. It's been, yeah, it's a duffer. It's not a duffer. It's just been probably hanging about in the damp too long. So yeah, it's about, you know, things hanging up. This, I'm just gonna. So this is, you know, that was a very bizarre, almost funny thing. What I want to do is talk about one of the other issues that came up, which was gear failure. And this is quite a big route, and so you'll see that there's lots of gear between the person falling and the floor. But on short routes, often we are forced, because of, you know, to stay away. So that you can see this person's in a really good position to be belaying. But what I want you to do is look at this piece here. What's going to happen is when this goes tight, the rope will kind of go to there and then up, and it's going to flick this one out. And it's a very common thing that happens in trad climbing, is because of the angle we're belaying from, if we're not totally in line and below it, it can create an angle where basically if that's the line of the rope going up, then this piece of gear will be pulled out at that angle. This is just a really good little example of that. It's something I've been trying to work out a way to demonstrate in a controlled setting, so we can play with setups and stuff like that. I have some ideas, but where I was hoping to do it doesn't exist anymore. Did you see that flick out? Let's go back. You can see it flying this way. And now you can see this one is actually getting lifted up because it's propagated up. Now, on short crags, this happens like bosh, like that. You can end up with the gear failing from the bottom up. And then if there's only like two pieces and a third is what's holding you, and that fails, then you it has resulted, from what I looked at in a lot of the incidents, that was a problem. And so, yeah, I just thought it's worth showing you this. Let's go back. Don't know whether it's give you some sound. And the B layer was stood. The only way they could have possibly done any better would be having been stood right below the person. Yeah, so it's just a little example of how sometimes we maybe want to think about where we're belaying from. Let's stop that there.
C'est de libérer toutes les longueurs du
This is just looks
Le seul
inspiring.
détail, c'est que j'ai jamais posé de coinceur de ma vie. Parfois, mon bras m'avantage, mais c'est pas tous les jours. La plupart du temps, je dois trouver une méthode bien spécifique. Peut-être que je me suis un peu trop chauffée avec cette
It's definitely a place I want to climb. I think this is the Grand Cap.
Le Grand Capucin. 400.
Yeah, so this is another great one. This is the Dole Mountains Club. These are all of the phones lined up. And as you can see, there is a variation between phones. So the concept of, if you want to ever think you're using your phone to walk on a bearing, there's everything between 85 and 97. So you've got 12 degrees of variance within 4 phones. Again, you can't really tell how close they are. Imagine if the buttons, you could be a degree or so off between each one. So this is another news item. So there's used to be a place called the Ice Factory in Kinlochleven up near Glencoe, and it was basically a big indoor fridge where you could go ice climbing. There was the worst job I've ever come across, which was all those little holes. Somebody has to kind of scoop the ice up off the floor, put it in a bucket of water, make a kind of a slushy, and then pack it in with their hands. And it's like, yeah, you get like half an hour to do that, and then you're disfrozen. But they're talking about hopefully opening this place in 2027. My thing, it's got like Dave McClewid and Anna Wells, both amazing kind of athletes, are ambassadors to help lead the project. My problem with this particular project, I had the same kind of issue, and I loved Surf Snowdonia when it was here. I did go there. I did pay good money to surf there. But these things take money to run, and this would have been built. I think there might have even been like a power station here, and part of the deal was they got maybe cheap electricity. So my issue with running a large fridge to run ice climbing is the cost. I don't know how much it's going to cost a day to run. If you think you're a normal little freezer might cost, I don't know, 25p a day to run. Imagine you're trying to freeze something the size of your house, if not bigger. You're maybe talking like £25 a day to run. So that's like maybe even more. And so I don't know the maths behind it, and I'd be really interested to find out, how many kilowatts the freezer tank is. And yeah, it just strikes me as if we are looking at that thing about how quickly glaciers are melting, why are we then creating more problem by creating an artificial winter climbing haven. And I know it's used a lot by a lot of people, but I imagine there's a lot of times of the year where these places are dead because it's not near a massive city. It's in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. Not the middle of nowhere, but if you go there, there's only a couple of small villages around sort of Kinlochleven and Glencoe, and then it's a bit of a drive down the coast to get to Fort William. And even Fort William's like, it's not even a big town probably on the scale of things. Let's just go back to this one. This is you might have heard you might have heard about Arc'teryx's massive faux pas. I didn't know what it was, but this is it. Yeah, so there's they've obviously done this as a publicity stunt, or somebody's done it for them. They didn't really. It was this Chinese artist. It's they're an environmentally. They sell their part of their branding is being environmentally friendly, and then there's lots of stuff about how much of would this affect the environment by just blasting loads of colors everywhere, and they've kind of instantly tried to we didn't really know what was going on. And in the world of international media, that could this is could have just been from somebody's phone who happened to be walking past and the world sees it. It's difficult. This I will stop. Oh, no, go up. Unmute it. We'll go to the beginning. So this is Tim Farron. I guess is some MP. I can't remember. Lib Dems is probably in charge of them. But this is one person talking about outdoor education. I think it's important to hear it.
Because there is no point extending access to nature if the coming generations have no desire to use that access. So in this motion,
I think we can already say there's an interest in using nature. We just have to look at what happened during COVID. There was a massive increase, or not massive, there was an increase in participation.
we propose that every young person at primary and then again at secondary school should have a funded opportunity of a week-long residential outdoor education experience to build a love of nature that will last a lifetime.
It'd be great. I know that in Wales there used to be like a funded place for like, at least I think they got one overnight thing. But yeah, from my work with outdoor education for lots of different places, it is the residential experience away from home. A lot of people for the first time really helps people understand that, you know, you get to know more about the person because you get to see them for, you know, like 24 hours for a few days, and it, you know, it really forces you to get along with people a lot more. And yeah, there's so many benefits.
Yet learning outside and going on those life-changing residentials is increasingly becoming the preserve only of schools from wealthy communities. And indeed, a risk-averse culture does not help either. Over the last couple of generations, perhaps, we have sought to protect our children from danger so much that we have actually done them harm by denying them those experiences that would have given them resilience, wisdom, better mental and physical health. Now, over my years as Member of Parliament for Westmoreland, the issue that has grown most in volume in my postbag, my inbox, my conversations, is the utter tragedy of mental health crises facing our young people. So why don't we choose to do something utterly radical today, something that will actually reduce the number of young people suffering mental health crises in the first place? The outdoors is the antidote to so many of our ills. Time on the fells and dales of Cumbria.
This is, yeah, it's an important point in that, you know, it's not the, I don't think it's the anecdote for everybody, but it is an anecdote for a lot of people. You know, I would certainly argue that for me over the years, climbing and being outside has been a form of like therapy. But yeah, it's interesting to see somebody in politics saying it.
Other national parks are also available. They put you out of your comfort zone, make you rely on others, and experience the scary wonder of being relied upon yourself by others, that they teach you that you can do things you thought impossible. They nurture an ability to solve problems and to rise above the panic that can freeze us when crisis hits. They build relationships and the capacity to form friendships, skills that are transferable, and above all, a resilience to help you cope with the stuff that life is going to chuck at you.
It's a big deal, and we both drove across.
I would like to formally apologise on the podcast.
Go f yourself.
Yeah, I just really thought that was an important one to get out there. It's something that I really have, you know, I've been lucky enough to be involved both when I was a student and then when I've been an instructor and in my professional life in outdoor education. And it is really interesting what it can give you. I think outdoor education done well can give you all those things the guy was chatting about, but done badly, I think it's, you know, it's nothing more than a sausage factory. And I don't want to, you know, the cheap outdoor education where, you know, you've got some trainee instructor running sessions around the center is a totally different experience to people actually being taken out into the hills or out in the wilds and actually going for walks or going to a real crag, going on a real lake. Oop, part went on a little train. And so, yeah, it's just important to me. Hopefully it's important to you. I'm just going to zoom this all the way back. I'm going to unmute it. So this was the other thing that's been in the news this week. You're watching history be made because somebody's just skied down Everest. I haven't fact checked this, but I'm pretty well, I do know that like Stevie Haston has snowboarded down a considerable amount of it, I think. But he is climbed and skied down without supplementary oxygen, which it might be the supplementary oxygen bit, which is the, you know, the first. But again, it's hard to tell. But what we are going to tell is that this is going to be epic.
This is a world first on Mount Everest. André Barguil has just climbed up and skied down the highest mountain on Earth without supplementary oxygen. He climbed for 16 hours above 8,000 meters in the death zone.
Andrzej, to pytanie, czy ty chcesz dalej iść w górę? Tak.
At this extreme altitude, the oxygen in the air is so low that most humans cannot survive.
Okay, brother, you are very strong Superman.
I am on top of the highest mountain in the world, and I'm going to descend it on skis.
After reaching the summit, Barguil clipped into his skis and began descending via the South Col route. This follows some of the most technical and exposed terrain in the world.
I do question, and it's if you remember the photos I put up of Everest just before, I questioned whether that was stock footage off another peak because there was nobody else there when he was skiing down. So whether I don't know whether he's actually skied a different route to the the normal track up. Yeah.
It's nothing eat.
He reached Camp 2 by nightfall, making safe navigation impossible and resting for the night. At first light, he continued and skied through the Khumbu icefall, arguably the most dangerous place on the mountain. From base camp, his brother scouted the terrain by drone and guided André around the crevasses, shifting ice and avalanches. Barguil has just made history. This is a world first on Mount.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's just kind of it for today. Just a few little news pieces that I thought you might find interesting. Yeah, have a lovely day. I've got to go through and get rid of you all now. Hang on.